Greetings and salutations. My name is Calliope, and I will be helping you with your order today, if that's fine. Alright, very nice to meet you. So, you talked to me a little bit on the phone about what you were looking for. So, I have here my catalog for all my bulbs, since you were discussing making a big bulb garden in front of your business. And unfortunately, I won't be able to order you any bulbs in this season. It is November and most of them ship out in August. I usually have to do the orders a year in advance. However, I can guarantee that I can get you what you want in the spring of 2019. Okay. I figured that since you would have to probably allocate your funds and get some contractors up to that, then that would probably work for you. Just a moment, I have to get a juice here. Oh, don't look at me like that. You probably order girly drinks at the bar. Yeah, it's damn dry here. It's ridiculous, but if you're cold at all, if you want to grab a sweater, then I would probably do that right now. Well, we can't have heating in my store because we have an attached greenhouse down behind you, and right now we have our poinsettias in there and all of our houseplant department, and they have their own allocated heaters, so we can only run the store at about 65 so that we don't dry everything out. If it gets too warm, then things start going crazy with growth, and right now points aren't what we need to grow right now. Hope you don't mind. Alright, nothing like a good juice to get you started. Okay. So before we get started, if I could just take your information, right, that'll just make everything easier in the long run. So your business name, okay, and a contact name, so that would be you, okay. Alright, and a phone number for the business and an alternate phone being yours. Alright, and this is the business phone, correct? Okay, perfect. And the alternate phone? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and date this just so I know where I was at when we come back to it later on. And again, you are okay with this being an order for 2019, correct? Okay, I wouldn't be able to order you anything anyway, but I mean, if you wanted to do some light work when we get our bulbs shipped in next year, then that would be fine. However, again, that they would only come up in 2019 as well. Alright, so did you have anything in mind for the look you're going for with creating this bulb garden? Is it whimsical? Is it classic? Is it a fun, lively, bright one? Is it monotonous? Anything like that? Okay, a little bit of classic and whimsical. That is always the best way to go. There's a reason the classics are the classics. Okay, so in that, is there any bulbs that you were thinking of at all? I know most people don't really have an idea of what most bulbs look like. For example, like most people know that these on the front of this catalog are tulips. And these are actually double tulips, sometimes called peony tulips. And on the back here, all their new varieties. This is Narcissus, and this is an Allium, this is an Amaryllis, but we can't plant Amaryllises here. I have some new types of crocus. The lilies are actually a summer bloomer, or you would plant it in the spring and then they would bloom in the summer. And then here is, I believe these are Triumph tulips. It's just a type of tulip. So there are several different types of bulbs, and they're all treated mostly the same, but some slightly different. You can plant, you know, a lot of very small bulbs, or you can plant a few of very big bulbs. It's really just the look you're kind of going for. Okay. Did you send us in the landscape details for your business? Okay. All right, so we already know approximately how much we're going to need when we end up ordering. Okay. So, all right, classic and whimsical. All right. So, I guess I'll just go ahead and take you through my bulb catalog. This is from this year, so these would end up being shipped next year anyway. So these will be a pretty accurate representation of what they're going to have. They don't usually take away any bulbs, not unless there is for some reason a crop failure. However, they do add over 40 for this year. They add several different types every year. Okay. So I'll go ahead and just read you the inside cover here. These catalogs are just gorgeous, and as far as a botanical standpoint. Alright, about this company. The Netherland Bulb Company has been a family-owned and operated business on both sides of the ocean for over 35 years. Family ownership means that our customers benefit from a business that takes the utmost pride in delivering high-quality products year in and year out. We continue to seek new and innovative products from top-notch growers and suppliers from Holland and beyond. Our customer service departments, based exclusively in both Easton, Pennsylvania and Vinland, New Jersey, are ready to answer all your questions without going through any menus or prompts, and then it gives you some information on how you would contact them if for some reason there was an issue. However, generally, if there's an issue, I will contact them for you. Because we do have a rep that comes to us once in a while for the Midwest. Alrighty, so, okay, these are point of purchases. Garlic and onions, not what we're looking for. Fall flowering crocus. Well, although we're not looking for fall bloomers, this one may be one you want to think about. So, these are fall flowering crocuses, sometimes called saffron crocuses, and instead of blooming in first thing in the spring like most crocuses do, these ones will bloom in the fall. So they're not very tall bulbs, that is. Usually they get about 4 to 6 feet, or inches, 4 to 6 feet, 4 to 6 inches tall. However, you can plant a lot of them so you get an impact like all these with all the clumps of them. So if you want to look at that just real quick. Yeah, they're quite pretty, aren't they? So that may be something that if you want to expand, you could think about. Alright, alliums. So as far as the whimsical standpoint, I would put in at least a few clumps of alliums. These are a rather big bulb. Usually they're about that big if you get one of the large alliums. They are in the garlic family, however, you don't have to worry about them smelling like garlic unless you, for any reason, step on it, or if you get up really, really close to the flowers, then you can very subtly hint some garlic. But these, let you look at the first page, these are incredibly whimsical. So this is the Purple Suze, which is one of their new varieties. My personal favorite is actually the Shibirdi, which is right here. And the Shibirdis will get about this big, in all honesty. It's a big circle, and it almost looks like a firework because you've got the, like this, in the middle of it, and then it has all these other, it looks like a firework. It has all these little other parts that come off of it. You could see with all the little bits. So they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous flowers. And they're one of the biggest ones that you can get, if not the biggest. I think probably the biggest is, let's see, where's my Globe Master? There we go. Oh no, it's Gladiator actually. It's either or, both of them, usually. So this purple one, and then there was a pink one as well up in here. Those are some of the bigger ones you can get. However, if you wanted to stay more dainty, I guess you could say, there are a fireworks mixture right there. And there's some Ivory Queens. Those look like miniature alliums. They look like little dandelions. And what else? The small flowering mixture, which is rather unusual. Usually you don't see yellow alliums. So there are a few different things. So is that something that possibly you might be interested in? Okay. Yes, it's definitely both part of the classical and whimsical definition. Were you thinking more of a big allium or some smaller alliums? A little bit of both? Okay. Both types. Well, what I would recommend when you discuss this with your contractors is it's best to put them in clumps. You want to put everything in clumps so it doesn't look like there's just one here, just one there, and just one here. You want to do, you know, a little clump here, a little clump there, a little clump there, just to, you know, inspire a little bit of fun in an otherwise, you know, pretty detailed plan you've got there with your flower beds. Alright, now we can move on to crocuses. So crocuses are going to bloom usually first thing in the spring. Generally, something like March, April, yeah, about that. And crocuses are rather small, and usually they bloom above the snow. A lot of people do put them in their lawns because you'll see all these little flowers in the lawn. And by the time they're done blooming is about the time that you actually start mowing. So you don't have to worry about, you know, mowing down your flowers but your grass is going overgrown. They actually are done about the same time that you would need to start mowing anyway. And they do like to spread. So if you wanted to plant crocuses, I would give them a bit of a wide berth because they will start spreading. So if you have a nice, you know, detailed with bricks and everything, they'll start popping up and here, there, everywhere. They're wild things. So these are the crocuses. And the most popular variety is going to be the large flowering mixture and the yellow mammoths, which the large flowering mixture actually has obviously a mixture of 3 of the different crocuses they have. So this is the large flowering mixture, which is my personal favorite. And then the yellow mammoths are these orange ones right here. And there's other mixtures. There's an orange monarch. There's Spring Beauty, Joan of Arc. There's a lot of them. This minimus, this species crocus right here is more of a wild crocus. But that one's really pretty as well. Is that something that you might be interested in? Not quite. Okay. It is kind of an acquired taste. But yeah, sometimes they're going to be standalone, so it's almost like what's the point, you know, if it's in the snow. Usually that's more reserved for people that are really bent on getting onto spring. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on to hyacinths. So hyacinths are actually incredibly not beneficial, but they're very suited to this area because they're actually deer resistant. So I believe they are toxic to deers, as are narcissi and daffodils. So you won't have to worry about critters digging up your bulbs. And these ones also have a smell. So usually, let me see, about 10 to 12 inches is what you're going to get with all your different hyacinths. So, you know, about a foot to just under a foot. The one thing you got to worry about with these is if you don't plant them deep enough, they'll actually only be like 6 inches tall. So you'll have the ground, and then you'll have little leaf stalks, and then you'll have your flower right here. I've done this before. It's definitely interesting. So these ones, you got your classic blue hyacinth, which is a blue jacket. And these are a true blue, actually. They're one of the few flowers that are a true blue. You also have the Carnegie hyacinth, which is a like a creamy white. And actually, I have a bigger picture. I was going to show you how we get our bulbs usually. So these are the Carnegie hyacinths. And let's see, Miss Saigon is like a royal purple. We have Pink Pearl, Gypsy Queen, which is an orange, Splendid Cornelia. That one's really pretty. It's got a variegation in it. It's white and pink. And then there's different types of mixtures as well. Are those anything that you would maybe want to look into? They're more of a classic woodland field, but when mixed with other things like tulips and other daffodils, you can get certain colors that you wouldn't be able to get in your other bulbs. So they're usually a pretty good addition to if you're doing something very colorful or something with a certain color plan that you won't necessarily get from other bulbs. Okay, so possibly hyacinth for color. All right, perfect. Yep. Okay, so probably I wouldn't do Dutch or Specie Iris because these have a tendency to spread. Muscari, this one's completely up to you. So these are an old variety. Usually they're for shade gardens. Well, and partial shade. And these ones are also deer resistant. These are also known as grape hyacinths. But these also have that blue purple color to them. Usually the most popular here, let me see if I can find it. There we go. Is this blue grape hyacinth there. So these have a little bit of a smell, but even if you aren't super overwhelmed by them, they are pretty reliable bloomers, and they're a reliable bulb. So they're one of those more wild bulbs. So that might be something to think about. All right, now here we get to a lot of people's favorite things. So let me just look. There we go. Okay. These are daffodils and narcissi. So lots and lots of different colors. So actually, let me see if I can find it here. The pink parasol was actually a rather popular one this year, and so was Mount Hood, which is a white one. But the most popular of all is the Dutch Master. That is your classic daffodil that you will see in little old ladies' gardens. So these ones, let's see, and now we're getting into just narcissi. Alrighty, So the difference between narcissi and daffodils is, I believe that it's daffodils that have to have a trumpet that are equal in size to the petals. So like if you'll see, they're pretty proportionate. And then with narcissi, they usually have a bigger trumpet than petals, or they have a bigger petal than trumpet. So, and that's what this little bit in the middle here is called. It's a trumpet. But they're all in the same family, and actually it's a very large family. Amaryllis are part of it as well. So, let's see. One of the ones that I would recommend is going to be the Holland Sensation. It's a white daffodil with a very creamy, almost like egg yolk color trumpet. Let's see, what else is a good one? Let's see, Exception is a good gold one. Oh. And Intrigue. That's a special type of, I guess that's Narcissus. And let's see. Tete-a-tete, this one is also extremely popular. But daffodils are deer and rodent resistant, and they're extremely reliable bloomers as well. So a lot of people do not like daffodils. I am one of those people, but to get maximum impact, a lot of people will add daffodils because of their color and their reliability to bloom. Okay. Yeah, most people do like daffodils, so I figured that I show people anyway and they can make up their own minds. Usually they respond very well to it. Okay. And would you be interested in any of the Narcissus that we have? Let's see if I can find any doubles. There's not any doubles on this page. Those ones are real pretty. They look very ruffled in the middle. Let's see, Narcissus Misty Glen. Okay, this is a rather popular one. It's got a green and white center, but that might not be what you're going for if you're going for very classic and whimsical, but maybe something like the dinner plate ones with the really big trumpet. But we can also always come back to that as well. Oh, here we go. Here's my doubles. So Golden Ducat is probably my personal favorite, but these are a bunch of double ones. And these ones are some irregular. They're supposed to be, let's see, split coronas, tridianthus, double flowering, split coronas, tazetta. So these are a bunch of different specialty ones. And one that I should have showed you is actually these two, Pink Paradise and Peach Swirl. Those ones are really pretty as well. Those give you something a little different, but I guess if we're going for classical, that's not exactly classical, but it does fall into whimsical. Okay, now my favorite section, tulips. So on the cover, we have Foxy Foxtrot, which is that double tulip there. It's a double early tulip. And let's see, it looks like I've got single earlies, double earlies, Fosterianas, Gracie, Fosteriana. Okay, so these ones are going to be your earliest flowering tulips. A lot of people prefer this Purple Prince here. However, Abba is very, very, very popular. And if you're going for classic and whimsical, that might be the one to go with. That look like a one to you? Alright. Tulips. Let's go ahead and write a note for Abba. Okay. And the Fosterianas, I feel, are rather underwhelming. However, I do like the Grazies because they have variegated foliage usually. So these ones on top are Fosterianas. And then the Grazies are going to be, let's see, that one and that one. And those two. Oh, and the Casa Grandes, which have extra large blooms. Okay, so looks like I've got specialty tulips. These ones are, well, I like them because they're wild tulips. So I've planted quite a few of these, and I like those quite a bit. However, there's also this peppermint, I think it said peppermint stock, peppermint stick, rather. Excuse me one moment. All right, and we're back. So, Persian Pearl is actually a pretty popular type as well. So these fall into your whimsical standpoint, and if you forget it's a tulip, then it's pretty classic as well. So is there any interest in any of these? Possibly. Okay, species. All right. Oh, I was wrong about these. These are a lily flowering one. Okay, so they're not triumph tulips. I didn't think they were. These are lily flowering tulips, these two. Let's see. And there's some more over here, white and red, and different mixes. We have some fringed tulips. However, I would not recommend these because they don't always want to come back. And you don't really want to dig these all up. But they are pretty. Those and the parrots. Okay. Darwin hybrids, which I find are the most reliable here. Okay, let's see. Beauty of Apeldoorn is real pretty, looks almost painted right there. We also have, let's see, the Beauty of Spring. That one didn't do so great. There's a lot of apricot and yellow ones here. Our store mascot kitties seem to be quite restless today. So, and some of the other real pretty ones. Let's see, Parade and Rosy Delight, Candelapple Delight. Those ones are real pretty. Pink Impression. These are all other types of Darwin hybrids. Okay, these are going to be the Triumph tulips. Which looks like, let's see, Bourbon Street's new, Del Piero. So these are all different types of Triumph tulips. Generally, a Triumph tulip has kind of the look of a Darwin hybrid, except they pull out a little more. And everyone knows it's good to pull out. What? Okay, and here are some of the peony tulips, which are also known as double lates. So these are rather pretty as well, but sometimes these are a little persnickety. But I think that this one, the purple peony one, and where's Angelique? Might be on the next page. Angelique's a pretty popular one. No, maybe not. Must have been a double early. And we have a very dark purple, almost black, Queen of Night tulip. And these are all single lates. So these also look similar to the Darwin hybrids. All right, and this is the last of the tulips. I know there's a lot. Most of these are parrots. We can look at them anyway. They're something to behold. So these are all different types of parrot tulips. They look painted and they're fringed. I like the black parrots. But it looks like they've got silver parrot design. That one's a new one. So these are fall perennials, which we don't need to look at, like astilbes or peonies or lilies. Here's some specialty bulbs, but I wouldn't really recommend any of these unless you want surprise lilies, which they're expensive and they're not super whelming, to me at least. More specialties, wood hyacinths. There's probably Siberian squill in here. Yep, there's the Siberian squill. There's some irises, which these ones aren't going to bloom when you want them to, but if you want to do a bulb garden, I might suggest throwing in some irises in there. Single snowdrops, and these are all my bags of them. So, like, this is a double late mixture. Yeah, isn't that pretty? That one mixed with, like, maybe some white hyacinths and, let's see, what else could you go with? Some pink alliums. That would look really interesting. Candy cane mixture, rainbow mixture, Easter joy mixture. Endless Spring Pink Blend. I wouldn't do that one. There's the Muscari Delft Blue mixture, if you wanted to go with that. Let's see, Wild About Allium mixture. That might be one to look into if you're looking at doing some small alliums. Jumbo Crocus mixture, which is kind of like the large flowering mixture. The extra value bags. Blends of Beauty. These are also different mixtures as well that they put together. Alright, jumbo bulbs. Oh, where they have the Oxfords on here. Parade. Amaryllis, we're not looking at those. Indoor Narcissi and Paper Whites, nope. And Growing Kits. Alright, so we've come to the end of the catalog. Were you having any thoughts or feelings about anything? Anything you want to see again? Well, like, if you wanted to pair maybe some of these bright yellow daffodils and then go with something like pink and red tulips and maybe some white hyacinths. You know, that's kind of a color palette you can go with. You can go with, one I like to work with is pink, red, and yellow. And sometimes you can throw white in there because you can always throw in, you know, a contrast color, but for the most part it stays pretty harmonious. Some people like to do purples, blues, and whites. Some people like to do orange, red, yellow to stay in that sunny collection. It's really about the impact you want to create. So if you're going with something very loud and very bold, you want to stick more to your warmer colors. However, if you want to plug in, you know, a couple odd ones like blue or purple or anything like that, then it'll end up being a big contrast to it. but you still want to make sure that your colors are working harmoniously. Which, and if you want to be whimsical, you also don't really have to care, you know? Once you see a large bulb garden, you're already getting the impact. So, that's my take on it, but I haven't been able to do many bulb gardens because they just haven't, they haven't been as much in style anymore because people want to have things that bloom the longest. And, you know, you'll get a few weeks out of these, but what matters is when they are blooming. It's like the cherry blossoms in Japan. You know, everybody is just so excited for the cherry blossoms, even though they don't last that long. You know, you're still excited about seeing them, no matter how short it is. You wish it was longer, but you enjoy the time that you have with them. So, and that's the same how people will be with bulbs. Okay. So, are you having any questions or concerns, anything like that? Well, when you end up planting these, so you did say you're going through a contractor, right? Okay, well, we do give a 20% discount to all contractors. 20% discount. And that'll end up lowering your cost a little bit too if your materials are cheaper. And I would recommend that you probably should add on some fertilizer just to make sure that everything has enough food to keep going through the years. You know, occasionally you may want to fertilize them in years later, but if you put something like bone meal down, which is excellent for bulbs, that'll also detract from deer and other rabbits and squirrels and critters. So fertilizer, bone meal. Sometimes we do have specials on different bulb mixtures, and you don't have to get everything all in one fell swoop, but if next year you decide that you want to go ahead and fertilize them, then you can get that right before you plant them, because you'll want to put the fertilizer in first and then you'll put in the bulb. So another thing I may recommend, because we are in the Midwest, I would recommend doing a repellent. So there's different types of brands out there like Liquid Fence or Bonides or Pelzol, anything like that would work. And the bone meal would help as well. Any type of bulb fertilizer, really, as long as it's not chemical. But the reason that critters go after bulbs is because bulbs are literally made of sugar. They are sugar. So it's literally candy to them. So they get a lot of energy from that, even though they'll eventually crash. But I mean, have you seen squirrels in the fall and they're going crazy trying to bury everything? Squirrels. That's all you have to say. But again, you don't have to worry about that until you end up actually planting everything. So, and there are different types of repellents, like you can put on, you know, your chemicals, or you can have little stations that have the chemicals inside them, so you'd stick them in the ground and then it'll work through the air. You can also put cayenne pepper on everything if you want to, because then it'll burn their mouth and their little hands. So I wouldn't recommend killing them, but I don't really have any control over what you do. So, alright, 20% discount, fertilizer, repellent, ideas for our bulbs. Okay, well, if you want to go ahead and take this catalog with you, okay, and then you can get back to me on some kinds you want to look at, or even if you want to look at maybe just going with a specific color scheme, then I can help you plan it out. So this was just a preliminary, you know, you don't have to get worked up about, you know, what all we're planting and that it's concrete and set in stone. We're just trying to get ideas, okay? Not that big of a deal. And if you decide that you would like us to plant it instead of a contractor, let me know as well, because we can do that. Okay? All right. Well, it was very nice to meet you. I hope to see you again very soon. All right? Bye now.